Morning, market chameleons, and soon to appear my favorite chameleon, Dimitri Pargamonik. How's everyone doing this morning, this great Tuesday morning? D, how you doing?
Good morning, Will. How are you?
Great. Let's start right with the disclaimer.
Yep. Good morning, everyone. Before we get started, keep in mind, Will and I and Market Chameleon, we're not registered investment advisors. We're not broker dealers. We're not telling you what to do. We're just sharing ideas. If you need professional help, call your broker. That's what they're there for, to help answer your questions and provide you with guidance. And you know what, Will? I just realized I unplugged my microphone. Let me try to plug it in real quick. Make sure.
Well, just so you know, you sound okay. And we all need professional help, me in particular, I'll tell you.
Okay. You like it when I say that.
I do. Every time you say that, I'm like, Jesus, should I call a therapist? What's going on? Well, listen, thanks for joining us, everyone. We have a lot of chameleons in the chat, and we're going to go over some features today, correct, D?
Yeah, I think today we'll skip the Q&A. You know, we have yesterday we didn't get that many, so what I'll do today is go over some of the Market Chameleon tools. This one in particular, I'm going to take a look at looking for option contracts that have a lot of volume. We're going to kind of narrow them down, and also we're going to take a look at open interest and see how that open interest changed, just to see if we could get some insights, you know, what the trading looked like yesterday. You know, so right now we're not open. We're taking a look at how the trades, what happened yesterday, and then based on, you know, the volume, we're going to take a look at the open interest and see, well, how did that open interest change? Because sometimes you could have a lot of volume, but it could result in open interest going higher. It could go lower. It could be closing positions, or it could be a wash where, you know, there was a lot of volume, but at the end of the day, there wasn't a buildup in positions. So we'll take a look at that today. And if we have any questions along the way regarding that, you'll just let me know.
Yep, and I did put the Zoom link in the chat. So do you mind if they come over and raise their hand and ask a question live? If they do?
That's fine. I think that's a better way to ask a question anyway, because a lot of the times when we read the question, you know, sometimes we might not understand it because we don't know what the surrounding circumstances are. So, you know, sometimes even though a question seems straightforward, it depends. You know, it depends. Well, what else is going on, or what other surrounding circumstances are involved, and that helps answer the question more clearly. So that's, yeah, you could ask it either by typing in the chat or clicking on that link, going over to Zoom. You'll be able to raise your hand and we'll turn you on. You could ask the question, we'll be able to hear you. You don't have to turn on your video, but at least, you know, we'll be able to hear you and you know, hear the full question.
Perfect.
So I'm going to share my screen. What we'll do is quickly, we'll start out taking a quick look at what's going on in the pre-markets, and then I'll jump onto that report where we're going to look for specific option contracts. And today we do have a webinar with Interactive Brokers at 2 o'clock. That will be on repeat option block trades. Very well, and we've sent out emails with invitations to that webinar.
Yeah, and I'll put the invitation in the link at all. You have to register on IBKR's site, and even if you can't make, I know too, it may be hard for people. You then have access to the webinar. They store all those webinars on their site. So I'll send that link out to everyone.
All right, sounds good. So here we're on a pre-market report right now. These are stocks that are actively trading in a pre-market. We got the most active stocks, biggest percentage gainers, biggest percentage decliners. Real quick, I'm coming down here seeing 76 made the percentage gainers list, 55 made our percentage decliners list. So from that perspective, almost a mixed bag, but a little bit more bullish bias at the open. Let's take a look at the higher market cap stocks. So I'm going to use this filter market cap 20 billion or higher. And here I see 13 on the percentage gainers list, 13 on the decliners. So they're even Steven. It's a mixed bag, no. But again, these lists are pretty small. You know, it's not hundreds of stocks, only 13 and 13. So there we're getting kind of a mixed signal. If there are no questions on this, then I'm going to jump to that report. In this one, it's actually under options. It's going to be, you're going to find it in the open interest section. Okay, so you see open interest analysis. So this report that I'm going to, you have these different tabs. You could look at open interest by symbol and total, by expiration, by option contract, 5-day changes. I'm going to take a look at the by option contract. And what I did here was, and this was, I forgot, I looked at an old email, I think it was from Jake, and I had some of my own presets for filters in place, but I did not actually save them to push them out. So they weren't available to you. I thought I did that, and then I came back and noticed that it wasn't there. So sometimes, just as a starting point, if you're trying to filter out because you've got this large report, right, and you want to just kind of filter out something as a starting point, you could use these presets. And these are just like general filters that I put in there and save. So I'll just go over a couple of them today, okay? Now, before I get into what is this report all about, this is what the report is tracking. It's taking a look at individual option contracts. So it's scanning all the different symbols and looking at individual option contracts. And it's looking for option contracts that either have a lot of relative volume on that specific option contract, okay? And that's going to be updated throughout the day. Or it's looking for an option contract that had a relatively big change in open interest, okay, from the previous day, or a big concentration of open interest. All right, so those are like the three things that this report is trying to filter out. The difference, though, is that with the open interest, it only updates once a day based, the OCC, Options Clearing Corporation. They're going to take the end of day settled trades, accounting for exercises, assignments, corporate action, splits, all that. Then they determine what is the new open interest, and then they give it to us. We pick it up from the vendor the next business day. So that updates once a day. The volume, that's updating throughout the day. Okay, so that's going to be right now. Right now we're closed, so we're looking at yesterday's volume. When the market's open, there's going to be new volume. So these are going to change, but the open interest will not change until tomorrow. Okay, so that's how it works. All right, volume changes intraday, open interest once a day, calculated by the OCC. So now that we've seen it, here we have, this is the stock symbol. Here's the option contract that we're tracking here. This is the price of that option contract, the price change, the implied volatility, and the implied volatility change, the volume. And then we have relative values, because every stock is different. Some stocks trade a lot of options on a given day. Other stocks, they have very little volume. So, what might be a lot in one stock might not be a lot for a different stock, like Tesla or Apple, but what might be, a little in one stock is not a little in the other. So we have to make it a relative value for that specific stock. So what we do is compare, well, how much option volume was on that contract, and then we compare it to the average daily volume, okay? And that's these numbers here. Same thing with open interest concentration, and I already did videos on these, so you could kind of go back and look, and I think that we have like explanations here below. So let's use one of the filters and see like what we're trying to filter out here. So here under the presets, let's look for unusual call volume with a delta of 50 or less. Okay, so these are like at the money and out of the money. And the reason I use 50 or less is because sometimes in the money, when you do see big volume in the money, it might not be unusual. That could be a particular type of trade, like a delta, a dividend play. So when you see dividends, you're going to see these big in the money options where people try to capture the dividend, and a lot of it is market maker to market maker. And I'm going to filter those out. Yeah.
Just so you know, when you're selecting your presets, Rob had asked earlier, and you are discussing it. I just want to give you a heads up what Robert asked. He said, would Dimitri please discuss what each preset gives us and how that would impact our choice of looking at trades? That was his question, just to think about while you're going through the presets.
Right. So the idea is up here. I'm going to start with unusual call volume with a delta 50 or below. Okay. And the idea is here are the filters up top. I'm looking for stocks that are above $10. Okay. So the idea there is, if you got very low price stocks, the options almost, don't matter because the price of the stock is very low. So I just put in, stock price $10. You could change that, but it's a starting point, right? Option type, I put call here. I'm looking for options of 25 cents or above. Again, you could change that, but this is your starting point. So I'm looking for options with a little bit, a little bit more value, at least 25 cents. Because this is looking for volume, really, I'm interested in, not 50 contracts or 100. So I need a little bit of volume in this. So I'm looking for volume of 1,000 or more. All right. The delta filter is right here, 50 delta. And here is what makes this a little bit, this is the filter that's looking for something unusual. And what it's saying is, I'm taking a look at the volume in the contract, right? So here in AA, I see September 17th, 50 call. The volume was 6,000. How do I know? Well, that's high or low. Is that unusual? Is that normal? So I kind of have to compare it to something. I need to make it a relative value. So this comparison looks at the total average daily volume of all the contracts, right? So not just one one specific contract. It accumulates all the volume and all the calls, all the puts, all the strikes, all the expirations, and says on average, the volume in AA is 27,088. So if this one contract trades 6,000 contracts, that's already 21% of the average daily volume. So that's what I said it there, where I think at that point, it becomes interesting, right? Like, well, why is there so much volume on this one contract? What's going on? Let me take a look. This way you filter out any other volume, if there's a 50 lot, 100 lot, whatever. This, I'm trying to get to the bigger volume trades. So that's the initial idea there. And then we kind of have 183 here. So we could keep narrowing them down based on what we're trying to look for. Okay. And again, these are only calls, right? I'm only looking at calls. So if I have 183, I could keep kind of narrowing down and saying, well, what am I trying to look for? What kind of situation is interesting to me that I could keep narrowing it down? All right. So right now, I just know that there's an unusual amount of volume on a particular call. And then I could sort these and say, well, let me see where on a relative basis, there's a lot, right? So I could even sort these and say, okay, on a relative basis, that's, 1,000 contracts traded there for a stock that only trades typically 34 contracts. So that's a lot on this one line. But what I do see, and by the way, I do see that the open interest also increased by 1,150. So that trade, whatever the trade was yesterday, we could go look at it. If it was one trade, multiple trades, we could then go and investigate it. But that resulted in an increase in open interest. So somebody committed to that trade, right? So it wasn't closing a previous position, and it wasn't a trade where somebody got in and then somebody got out. like this was a new position established yesterday. Okay. And what we see here, I'm just looking at the screen, that yesterday this stock was up significantly, 16%. So that's a pretty big move. And it went up to $44.06. All right, so we see up $6 yesterday, 16%, it went up to $44.06. Also, what I see, you know, we could take a look at the news, but I'm going to try to go quickly. I'll leave that up to you. But also what I see is that the price of this option did increase, right? It did increase 33 cents, but the implied volatility got crushed, down 53%, basically got cut in half. What this might be telling me on the surface is that it could be somebody with a position in there, maybe buy writing, selling calls against their long existing stock, or there's a offer on a book. But what it's telling me is that if the implied volatility is coming in, that the dealers were on the buy side and they're lowering their relative premium. We could take a look at, you know, if I click on this, we could go to that options chain and take a look. I mean, you know,
Could it also have been, D?
Yeah.
Could it have been they were sitting on an event and an event happened yesterday? Some sort of announcement or something?
Right. That's why I'm kind of looking. So we see here there's an event today, September 14th. Okay. It could have been, we'd have to go to the news, but something drove the stock higher, right? So something probably happened. And, you know, what I'm seeing is, here's how, this is right here, the contract, 745 call, 1,252 traded. When I open that up, I do see that it's not just one trade, there's 56 trades in total. It traded as low as 5 cents, as high as 70 cents, this contract. We see the day before this option closed, it was 10 cents, 30 cents. That was the market. You could see how high the implied volatility was. So maybe it was expecting some kind of event happened. It looks like whatever happened, you know, news is out. You could see that this option didn't increase that much because it closed at 25 cents bid, offered at 80 cents. The implied vols came in. So to me, it looks like, you know, there were offers there. You know, here we go, you know, 40 bid. So we see here a lot of traded at 40 cents. Volume weighted average price 37 cents. So if we just look at that market, 25 cents, 80 cents, that VWAP traded closer to that bid. The implied volatility, 49.33, as low as 36.5, as high as 70.9. So here, you know, we could just kind of see how those trades progressed over time. You know, here's where the stock kind of opened 39.65 probably and continued to rally up. And we could take a look at the biggest notional trades. So here, 300, you know, contracts traded for 40 cents. That's $12,000 worth of premium. And it looks like, you know, that happened a couple times at 40 cents. So some of the bigger trades were at 40 cents, right? 12,000. So that basically looks to me, you know, in a nutshell, what happened. So here, maybe it's a takeover. I don't know. I didn't read the news. You know, I don't know what's going on. But if the stock's 44 and you're selling the 45 calls for 40 cents, the stock already moved $6. Whoever's selling these do not think it's not going to go much higher, right? From between now and expiration, because that's a relatively cheap option, right? You're only, you know, $1.40 away from break even. We just had a $6 move to the upside, right? So it's up to you. Go take a look at was it earnings? I think it was earnings, yes. So it was earnings. See, I'm hovering over it, September 30th. So it looks like it was an earnings. Again, what this is saying to me, whoever, the seller of these doesn't believe that there's a lot of big, upside at this point. If you believe in it, if you believe that, hey, maybe it still has a lot of room to run, 40 cents seems like not a bad, right? Not a bad play. 4 days to go, $1, what are you, $1.40 away? That's not relatively cheap play, but go read the news, see what's going on. I'm just kind of going off the trading activity. Okay, so if there are no questions, I could return and just go use another example.
Perfect.
Yep. This one kind of is a little bit different because this is the opposite. So the implied volatility on this one, so XENE was up 1.4%. This is looking at October 30th call, so it's a little bit, more out there. It's not expiring this week. And the stock went up. The value of that call went up, but so did the implied volatility. And this is a pretty high implied vol, 207. We could take a look at if that's high for this particular stock. But, that's something that might be interesting because those options imply a lot of volatility, a lot of movement still. And you could see that this is the 30 call. So we're at 1770 right now. We're looking at the 30 call. So it's not, it's not a double, but it's a significant, that would be a pretty significant move, in my opinion, for a stock going from 1770, going above 30. I don't know, what's that, a month? We're a month away. We got, people are paying $1.75 for that option. That's real premium. What is that? Like, a $1770 stock, $1.75, that's already, what is that, 10%, Will?
Yeah.
10%. So we're looking at a pretty significant premium for a call option that's way out of the money, right? It looks to me like people are bidding that up based on that implied volatility moving higher. Yesterday, 2,158 contracts traded on that line, October 30th. Typically, 185 contracts trade in total. So that's a significant amount of volume in that for that stock. And we see that volume resulted in an increase today in open interest. So that open interest increased by 2,080, right, to 2,420. So ZENE. So let's take a look what's going on there. Again, we're just, I'm sorry, X,
yeah.
X, right? So here we go. This is it. We see a lot of puts trading here too, so I'll take a look at that. But here's the option over here, right? We see very wide markets.
It happens to be a biotech stock too.
Is this a biotech? Okay, so that could be it, right? They could be expecting. Here we go, October 1st. We see here October 1st, there's an event. All right, so ahead of that event, we see a lot of, right? We see implied vols moving higher, very wide markets here, very wide, a lot of uncertainty. Got to be careful there, when you're placing your orders, that you keep that in mind. You can see here, the one we're looking at, 55 cents bid offered at 295. That's a huge spread, right? You could drive the truck.
You don't want any fat fingers here.
You don't want a fat finger here. You got to be careful.
Yeah, you don't want to make a mistake.
Yeah. When you see these, really, you probably want to do spread, you probably want to spread your risk out, buying and selling and making sure you're covered, I think. But in any case, look, 30 strike, 70% away right now, right? 70% above where we are now, 1770. If it goes there, look, it's high, 52-week high, 2194. So it's 50% above that, right? So you got a pretty big move here in XENE. You should go take a look at what the new, what the events are what the expectations, that's up to you. You know, the thing here is that there's
It
not a
is
lot.
interesting to see what line is the biggest open interest too.
Yeah, so we could take a look at that. So here on the open interest, I'll go really quickly. So we see open interest here is elevated calls inputs, right? These relative to last 252. But I'm going to just take a look at 5-day trends. So here, let's see, biggest open interest. So in the put, October 15th, in the call, October 30th. And that's just happened, right? In the call, the put, that also, right? Those, and the 7.5 put. So there you kind of have a distribution of how that open interest looks. It's all in October, right? Then it just tapers off. So everything in October, it's between the 30 call, 15 put, then 7.5 put. That's right now where it's lying. So market's expecting a big move right now. We don't know where, that's remains to be seen, but that's what's being priced in. Kind of, you want to go take a look at that event coming up, but we can take a look at historically, so what is that? Let me just take a look here. So, next 4 days, we could take a look at historically the biggest one-day move in XENE, because this is implying, 70% move this way. 15 strikes only 15% away. So here's the interesting part. Look, what did I say? Sorry. No, I'm on the wrong expression. Okay. So here, 15% away on the 15 strike, 70% away on that 30 strike. So I'm going to just take a look at something. We only have 3 minutes, so we'll come back to this report tomorrow. But let's just take a look at XENE, right? Biggest one-day moves in last 4 years. So the largest to the upside has been so far 24.5%, largest down move 19.1%. So that's in the last 4 years, one-day move. So whatever it is here, the markets are pricing in that potentially we could be way above that, right? Because that 30 strike is 70% away. So that's a monster move, pretty significant move. Very would be a new record for this stock. So whatever that event is, you want to pay attention to see if that is justified. Can it actually move that much? So you have those kind of tools to start investigating. We're right up at 9:30, Will. So I'm not going to go into that next filter. I won't have time to continue on.
And we'll get to it tomorrow, correct?
Continue it. Yeah, we'll just continue it tomorrow. I think that just kind of going to the symbol, finding things going to the symbol, like going through that research investigation, going to that next step, I think is important. So
yeah, well, it led to a lot of interesting discussion in the chat about what the news actually may be. So a lot of ideas thrown through the chat, which just reminds me how interesting the Discord group that Jake created, and actually Goat popped in, who's a member of the Discord group as well. So anyone who wants access to that Discord group where discussions like this go on daily, you can email me, williammcbride@gmail.com. I'll put that in the link. Remember, everyone, we have Dimitri's webinar at 2 p.m. today with IBKR. That link is also in the chat. You can go to IBKR's webinar website, and you just have to register. And if you can't make it, they will let you know that they have the video on file and you can watch it at your convenience. Awesome job, D.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Stay safe out there. Have a good trading day, and we'll see maybe later today. If not, hopefully tomorrow.